Hey everyone, so a few weeks ago I reviewed this new Bulleit Bottled in Bond bourbon. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good. But I thought it was a noticeable improvement over the other Bulleit expressions, which I never was too thrilled of. I never was a big fan of Bulleit, except when used in a cocktail like an old fashioned or Manhattan. The base Bulleit, definitely not 90 proof, but I did enjoy it both at home and when out in an old fashioned and a Manhattan. I think it stands out well. It's got a high rye content. It's bold. I do think it works in a cocktail, but definitely not as a neat sipper, and just not a Bulleit fan in general. And then also, so that's the 90 proof, and also at home, I've used this barrel strength Bulleit. And I made it pretty bold, old fashioned. I thought was good. So if I like that, while I don't like the other Bulleits in a, as a neat pour, I did like them in a cocktail. One would have to think that since I like this better on its own as a neat pour, I would probably think it would make it even better old fashioned since I like the actual bourbon itself. This is much closer to a neat sipper than the others because the others are not. This can be, and certainly my thinking is it would make a good old fashioned. So we're going to try that. And just to remember, what the distinguishing factor between this latest Bulleit expression is that this is their first of their own distilled products, whereas prior all the other bottles were sourced. This is approximately aged 7 years. It's bottled in bond, which has all the has to meet all the requirements of that, and obviously 100 proof. Not age stated, but again, they say it's about 7 years. And the mash bill, although not official, thinking somewhere in the range of 68% corn, 28% rye, 4% malted barley, 28% rye, if that's what it is, quite high. That's in the range of like an old granddad. So definitely a high rye content, whatever that number exactly is. So again, we're going to make it old-fashioned because I think if I like Bulleit in an old-fashioned from the regular Bulleit and barrel strength and all their other ones, I'm thinking that something that I really could drink neat, I think I'd like even better in an old-fashioned. So we're going to make one right now, and we're going to see what we think. And voila, here it is, a Bulleit Bottled in Bond Old Fashioned. Recipe is as follows: 2 ounces of this Bulleit Bottled in Bond bourbon, half an ounce of simple syrup, few dashes of Angostura bitters, maybe more than a few. Have this big square cube, mixed everything up in another glass, poured it on top of this big square cube. I didn't use any garnishes, so basically pretty bare bones here just to get the job done. But this is where it is, so let's give this a nose. It has a nice Bulleit smell, nothing surprising. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. It's good. It definitely is good. I don't necessarily notice that much of a dramatic difference in an old fashioned between this Bulleit Bottled in Bond and say the regular Bulleit. And maybe if I did it side by side, I think basically when you put and I did this, when I put this side by side in a neat pour against the regular Bulleit, there was a noticeable difference. I did that side by side. I did it in a blind. There is definitely a noticeable difference. In here, because you have the sugar, you have the simple syrup, there's other factors that kind of meld out a little bit. The distinctions between the base bourbon, certainly when it's that close, and it's not, it's not another world. This is better, but it's not like it's, you're looking at a Poppy Van Winkle and, a Jim Beam White Label. The difference isn't that dramatic, so I think it gets kind of like melded in a little bit closer when you have it in a cocktail. However, this is definitely good, and I'm sure if I put it side by side, I probably would notice even a slightly better improvement in this one. Let's give this another taste. But definitely, just on its own, without any comparisons, this is a very good old-fashioned. Even though I'm not the biggest rye person, although I have certainly progressed in my journey in it, I think when you have a high rye content in a cocktail, such as an old-fashioned, and most definitely Manhattan, even more so, because Manhattans traditionally actually are rye, even though they are interchangeable with bourbon, I think it really stands up well in a cocktail. And then as far as proof, this is 100 proof. It's really perfect. You can have certainly less proof in an old-fashioned, and you can have more. I think sometimes the higher proofs I've done would blow it out of the water, and sometimes too weak. So this is a nice proof. I think it's a nice. So I would try this. If you have any interest or even like Bulleit, and certainly if you like this one, I would try this in an old-fashioned because I do think, this aside, even in general Bulleit, that is one thing that I have thought that they were decent at. Whereas not all the bottles I would drink as a neat pour, this is really the only one. In general, they are good in cocktails, Manhattans, and certainly in old-fashioned. So just my own thoughts. Cheers.